Hey, my name is Richie Blanton, and in this video we're going to be mixing a live worship song from start to finish in Logic Pro. And in this specific mix video, we'll be only using stock plugins in Logic Pro. So no outside auto-tune, no extra drum samples from somewhere. It's all going to be in Logic Pro. If you like videos like this, please hit the like button and the subscribe button. That would be really helpful. And then if you like this mix template, you can click the description below and download it there. Hey everybody, welcome to my Logic Pro session here. I will walk you through what's in the session and I'll mix it and then I'll show you some things along the way. And as a reminder, this template here that we're about to make will be for sale at the link below. So you can click there, you can download the template, and hopefully it's helpful for you as you mix and as you do broadcast mixes and things like that. So you'll see it's a really, pretty normal setup. You got kick in, out, and then here is a kick sample I'm using, a snare sample as well. I did all that inside Logic Pro. I did the triggering in Logic and the samples in Logic, and I can talk through more of that later. Snare top, snare bottom, tom 1, 2, overhead, room, bass, 2 acoustics, 2 electrics, some tracks that were recorded live that night. A keys track, and then a group of vocals. I've done a few tiny things to get started here. One is everywhere you see a gain plugin here, it just means I flipped the phase of the channel. I did that off camera just to save you some boring of it, but it looks like those were needed the phase flipped. And then I set up a vocal bus right here with all the vocals are going, set up some sends, and then I set up a slap, a verb, and a delay send. We'll probably tweak those some later, but wanted to have them. And then that's really it. I also worked on setting up the gain structure of this so that it would work in a more template format, just to give you a number to aim for. So in Logic Pro, I turned on pre-fader metering. And I tried to make sure everything was hitting around, like peaking around negative 15 dB. Primarily, I kind of got the kick drum there. I kind of moved it all together. And then, if everything was around there, I left it alone. The vocals were gained a little lower, so I gained those up. But I just want to give you a reference point if you decide to use this as a template. So let's play the track as it is. Again, you'll see I leveled off some of the faders. I panned some things. That's it. But let me show you what we're working with.
So we pour out our praise, we pour out our praise, it's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you only, it's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise.
All right, so that's what we're working with. This was recorded live on an X32, I believe. I'm not sure if it was the Midas preamps or the Behringer preamps, but either way, this sounds really great. It's a really good starting point. My goal is just not to ruin it. It is clearly a live recording. It needs to sound like a live recording. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to use a gain plugin here on the stereo bus. And actually, I'm going to do this first. I'd like to get a compressor working on the stereo bus. I kind of like to mix into one. So for that, I'm going to use this studio. Where is it at? That's it. The vintage VCA. Get a little bit of gain reduction going, and then we'll go from there. And on my Logic compressors, you'll notice I have it set, the default set, so that the makeup gain is turned off, the auto gain. I find it's ridiculously loud. And then I have the distortion turned on soft for everything. I find it gives it a nice, analog warmth or whatever you want to call it. So let's dial this in.
We pour out our praise, it's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs. So
turn up my headphones here. All right, that's plenty for now to just get a little bit of glue on there. The next thing I'm going to do is one of my favorite tricks lately. I've got a gain plugin on the master bus. I'm going to turn it on mono, and then when I turn the plug-in on, it'll go into mono. So here's in stereo, mono, stereo, mono. I found if I do 80% of the mix in mono and then flip it out and, obviously don't print the final thing or listen to the final thing in mono, but mix most of it in mono, my mixes come out so much better so often of the time. So I'm going to flip it. We're currently in mono, and I'm going to get to work on these drums, and I'll try to talk as I'm going. For now, I'm going to mute the vocals. I'll bring them back in later. So I really don't hate that kick at all. I just hear some low mid build up in it. So I'm going to try to clean it out a little bit and see what I can do with it. Let's start with the channel EQ. Since this is a kick in, I know I have a kick out. I'm going to go and pull some low end out of this kick in. There we go, that helped. See if we can get some bump there, see if I can get a little bit of click out of it. There we go. So that's obviously punching a little harder. See what we got kick for kick out. Yeah, you'll see as I mix, I'm really trying to stay out of solo a lot these days, but for kick out sometimes it's helpful to hear what's actually going on down there. So I just don't need any of that top end. Some of that bottom end's a little on the flubby side for me. See if we can give it some definition and some punch. Yeah, we'll leave that really low in the mix. Excuse me. See what we do if we bring our kick sample in a little bit. Here's our sample. Yeah, it's not crazy or anything. All right, I'm going to go ahead and work on the overhead a little bit. Sometimes I work on kick first. Sometimes I work in overheads first. In this case, I started working on the kick first, and I kind of wish I'd have hit the overheads first. So let me look at that. All right, immediately I know there's some low end in here I'm not going to need. So really interesting. When you pull the low end out up to about 100 hertz, suddenly the snare starts to speak a lot better. So it's just interesting how when you can clean some of the low end up, stuff starts to poke out more. From these overheads, I really want some top out of them. Great, that feels good. And then we'll get some of the low mids going, of course. I'm really listening when I bring this up where the kick and the snare get honky. Man, that cleaned up everything so much. See if that overhead would, sometimes overheads like compression, sometimes they don't. Let's see if it'll like just a little bit of compression here. And what I'm gonna do is, what do I like? I definitely don't want the opto. We'll just try this. Sorry for your ears if that happened. That was an accident. Whoops. Yeah. So already that's just bringing the drums in and tight in a way that I really like. And if you'll notice when I compress overheads, I always like a really slow attack, because really what I'm trying to do is help it to slowly kind of pull the snare down just a little bit, and it'll bring the cymbals out, but I don't really want to kill the transient. So I've got a slower attack on there. So that's my overhead. Let's see what we got working with here. Kick feels okay. Kick doesn't feel amazing. It feels okay. I think what I'm going to do for the kick is create a new auxiliary channel strip. And then I will hit Command T to make it a track. And I'm going to name this kick bus. I'm gonna make it red. And I'm gonna send all 3 of these kicks to that bus. Bus 5. And then, turn the wrong thing to that. This should be bus 5. There we go. And then we'll process it together. So this is all my kicks. There we go. And that way, from an EQ perspective, I just work on them together. I think it's going to be easier. Yeah, to me, it's just really honky. Let's see if that does it. How much do you take out? That feels way better. Let's see if it actually lost it in the mix, though. Nope. Nice and tight. So I had a smidge of compression on there. I like this VCA for a kick. Slow attack. Quick release. That kick is super punchy now. It might be too punchy. Feels really nice. I'd like a little bit more weight on that kick. So what I'm going to do is, what EQ is it? From Logic. I think it's called the Vintage EQ. Here it is. The Tube EQ is this Pultec thing here. It's super cool. I always pull the volume down on this guy about a dB because it comes out loud. And then you can just do this like high, low boost thing and then attenuation thing. That feels really nice to me. The only thing I'm just not loving is it just feels apart from the not together with the kit, not cohesive. So I'm gonna try to put the compressor after that EQ and see what it does. Try to see if I'm compressing it too hard. Still getting so much kick from somewhere. I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. Aha! There's a mystery aux channel strip down here that needs to go away. That's what it was. Let's see if we can delete this guy. Sometimes aux channel strips on Logic Pro are a pain to delete. Delete anyway. All right, now our kick's actually gone. That's why I had a bad level. I'm going to change back the Tube EQ to be after the compressor now. I think that's going to feel a lot better. Let's see what we got. Yep, that feels really nice. All right, let's look at the snare drum here. See how much bleed's going on. I'm great with that. I don't hate that snare drum. Just like to clean it up a little bit. Get some low end going. And then I kind of want to use this vintage EQ. Where'd it go? This console EQ, neat looking thing. Turn on this low cut. About 80, yep. Give it some high end. Output. That's cool. And then let's give it some of this. Let's give it a little bit of 4K to make it crack a little bit better. Some low gain. Yeah, that snare's already got some better weight to it. Some compression is going to help us a lot on this guy. Yeah, that guy. That guy, actually. Turn it up. The ratio, threshold down. Slower attack. That sounds really good. And on this one, I'm going to turn this distortion knob up and see what we get. Yeah, the snare's already there more. And on this console, on the output, you can drive it. Let's see what this does. Yeah, that feels really great. So let's hear the snare soloed. Yeah, you'll hear in solo, that's not amazing, but we're not mixing in solo, so it doesn't really matter. I think we're probably compressing it a little hard. There it goes. Yeah, that instantly sounds better. I'm gonna try to get just a little more low end out of it, if at all possible. There might not be a lot in it to get. So I'm gonna turn this knob all the way up and then move this, sweep this frequency around until we get something good. There we go. It feels really nice. Let's look at the snare bottom. On this mic, I'm really just trying to get a lot of the ghost note out of it. See if we can get some low mid out of there we don't need. And then snare bottom typically loves some good compression. I'm just going to copy over snare top compression and we'll edit it from there. Yeah, those ghost notes are speaking really nicely. And that's a lot of the drum kit. I obviously did not touch the toms, but the toms don't really come in for quite some time. Let me find an area where there are some toms. I'm gonna get those feeling really good. Looks like this last bridge here. I'll do my best to gate these. It may not work, but we'll see what we can do. Let's see here. We will actually use this. Yep, here it is. Noise gate. And let's look at Tom 2 first. Let me pull it over there. Tom 2. I always like to look at the actual region so I can see what I should be hearing. Turn this on. See if it closes here in the chorus. So there it's closed, but I don't know if that's going to open enough for this other bridge section. No, it's not. So what we'll do is we will pull this back. And we'll just make it so that's not reducing it all the way. It's reducing it about 12 dB. And then when we get past it, see if we can make this even tighter. See if that'll work. Yeah, that gate's not going to be... If I was doing a studio mix, I would manually edit those regions to gate the toms, but in this kind of case, I'm just going to ride with it. Here's tom 1. That should be a little easier. Sweet. All right, and then we'll start by EQing this floor tom. Take some low end out we don't need. Looks like that gate's still a little too tight. All right, take out some low mids we don't need. Punch a little bit of low end we do need. And I find with toms, you really got to hear all this in context, but I'm just going to get it started. Get some stick out of there, and I'll move this over to tom 1 because sometimes that works. Hear it out in context. It's working for tom 2, not working for tom 1. Again, this one's honkier up high. There it is. See if we can get some low end. There it is. Little top end. And I probably just have those tapping a compressor. I don't need them to slam really hard or anything like that. So we'll look at tom 1 here. This will work just great. That feels really nice. So that's a lot of our drum kit. The one thing I feel like I'm missing is I want it all to be a little bit more cohesive, and I would like to hear it, some reverb on a few things better. So what I'm going to do is work on this room mic and then add some reverb to some things. I know I don't want a lot of this low end in there. I hear some low mids building up. And I want to hear the guys' voices, the singing. Let's try that. I want to hear that in context. I want to make sure that all that EQing didn't just kill the whole vibe of the kit. Nope, it actually tightened it up. And then I'm going to compress it a little bit and see what I can do to it. Again, not soloed and in context. You'll see I'm going for a really high ratio here, and we'll just see what it does. Yeah, so that's just bringing some extension to everything, and we pull this back into stereo, we'll really be able to hear it. So now I want to pull my whole drum kit together by clicking kick in, shift, room, and then shift command D to create a summing stack. We'll call it drums. And it automatically made it red for me, which makes me really excited. And then off of drums, I want it in a little bit more just, I want everything to have a little bit more verb on it. And then I'm specifically going to create a reverb for the snare. So let's create a drum verb and a snare verb. I got to go down here and grab those, 7, 8, Command T to make them tracks. And then we will pull them in like this and then move the stuff around, and it should switch the outputs correctly. Let's double check that it did it right. It sure did. So we'll call this drum room and snare verb. All right, let's get started with drum room. So for this guy, I'm going to find reverb, and then we will use Space Designer. I'm not really sure what we're going to use yet. Let's do a medium space. Let's do a hall. And let's just try, let's see what this indoor space actually is. Let's try this. Let's try large club. That's probably going to be similar to what they were actually recorded in. And let's see what this does. I just realized I'm creating a feedback loop on itself by doing it that way. Let's do it this way instead. We'll just give everything that reverb. All right, that might sound like a lot of reverb, but I've learned in my life that it's hard to have too much on these drums, so they're going to sound really dry. And then for the snare verb specifically, let's go to Space Designer again. Let's do a medium space, and then I'm looking for a plate right here, probably a drum plate. Let's see what this does. It's feeling good to me. Then I'd like to compress the drums a little bit all together here. Before I do that, actually, I would like to pull up EQ. Where's it go? Where are my EQs at? There they are. Vintage EQ, and then I like this tube EQ again, just for the drum bus. I'm going to give it a little bit of 100 here, and then boost it. Tighten it up a little bit, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the high end here. Let's see what's a good frequency. Yeah. Yeah, that gives the drum some really nice brightness that I like. And then we'll do this vintage VCA, and just get a little bit of compression dialed in. See what it feels like on a big drum groove here. Like this chorus here. Let's get bigger. Yeah, that feels great. See, this distortion goes up. That feels awesome. The only other thing I really need to do is EQ this reverb. We'll do both of these actually, just to get some of the low end out of the reverb. I don't need it there. Same thing with some of this crazy crisp top. And I actually feel like this plate can have some more pre-delay on it. And this EQ on the output. That feels really good. And again, that's all in mono, and all that spreads out in a little bit. Like, let me just show you. If I listen to this in stereo. So clearly there, the reverbs did not get dialed in quite correctly. Specifically, it sounds like the snare reverb is pretty nuts. So if we pull that back down. I pulled the wrong thing, sorry. But what you're hearing is just through some EQ and some compression, the actual mixing, because it was a mono and you can hear better, and I wasn't in solo very often, it's all beginning to glue together a lot better than if I was soloing everything. So we got the drum sounding pretty good. Let's see what we can do with the bass. But what I hear with the bass is it's super, super punchy. I want to use some EQ and some compression to dial it in so I can feel it more than I can hear it. I do like the attack on it, but I want to tame it just a little bit. And I'm going to use probably 2 compressors together to keep it really tight without overdoing the compression. So let's hear what we got. So really good tone, but really aggressive tone. So first thing is I'm actually going to pull out about 40 and below on this bass. I don't really need it. And I'm also going to pull out about 6K and above on this bass. Again, I don't need it. And that already helped just put it where it belongs. That's all I'm going to do there. I'd like to round the bass out with some bottom end. $80 feels really nice. I was trying to get it to where I could feel the low end, but got it right above the kick, and that's about where I'm feeling it. Now we need to compress the ever-living tar out of it. So let's do one of these VCAs, a classic VCA, so it's nice and fast to get some of the transient. Then I actually like to do one more compressor on the bass, and it's this opto. Nice and slow and gushy. And we'll do 8-to-1. We'll compress it pretty hard. Obviously the fader's pretty hot now because it's so compressed, but if we pull it down, yeah, that's starting to feel the low end really nice. There's some stuff in the mids that's bothering me now. There we go. We'll see now. For now, that feels good. I'm still a little concerned it's going to be a little too pokey. I think that bass tone was probably really, really good for a more upbeat song or something. It might be too pokey for this song, but I'm going to leave it for now. Next, let's actually get some piano dialed in. That's super cool. Primarily on this, I want to get rid of some low end. And give it some top. I just want to hear it cut through a little bit better. Maybe here. Yeah, there we go. And then just to keep it in check, I'd like to compress it. It feels great. All right, so I'm going to come back to this when we're out of mono and probably add some reverb to it, but for now we'll leave it alone. There's some tracks, same thing. We'll come back to that in a little bit. See what our electrics are doing. All right, so they're both kind of strummy. Let's do this. Let's look at electric 1 first. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the bass, except a little more aggressive. Take this up to about 60. Take this down to 6K. Again, just getting rid of stuff I don't need. And then after that, I'm going to go to this, back to this EQ I've been using a lot here. Where's it at? Vintage EQ, vintage console. Just give this thing some low end. It's better. There we go. That guitar sounds a lot meaner now. Let's look at the other electric. Moving the CQ over. Look at this other chorus, see if it's doing something different. There we go. I'm gonna have to go into solo. I just can't quite hear what he's doing. Yeah, more low end. There we go. That feels really nice. And then I'd like to tap these with a compressor as well. Again, I'm not trying to kill it or anything. Want the transient to come through still. See what that feels like on that guy. Move that over to both guitars. That still won't be too much compression for... Oh, P had a bad note there. Let's go back to this chorus. And I'm moving the attack and release knobs around until I find they're sitting in the mix how I want them to be sitting in the mix. And that helped a lot right there. And that's one of those, in a few moments when we open this up out of mono and into stereo, you'll see it's going to make a really big difference. Let's look at our acoustics. And for the sake of time, I'm going to mix those, I believe, as a group. So we'll call this acoustic. And let's listen to them. See what we got. Yeah. All right, same EQ to start with I did for the electrics. And then I'm going to get rid of a bunch of these low mids we don't need. Yeah, get rid of that. Then I'd love to give them some nice low end. I just took away a bunch of the woof. Let's see if there's a nice low end bump I can give them somewhere. There, that's really nice. And then my favorite trick on live acoustics is to go straight for a multi-band compressor. And then the way I like to do this is, first off, the attack on all these things default really fast. So I want to fix that. Turn all those up to 100, 100, 100. And then we'll space that out to about 6K, yep. And that'll get the harshness. This will get the gross stuff. So let's dial this in. So that's not doing a ton. Oh, there's all kinds of wrong notes on that chorus. That's awesome. It's live. That's perfect. Get the release to be a little faster. Get a little more of these upper mids. And you'll just hear that just evens the acoustics out so much, both in dynamic and EQ. All right, so let's look at these vocals. Here's our lead vocal. So what we can do, since it's a live vocal, we can start with some pitch correction here. We will do the pitch correction. I believe this song is in the key of A. Let's see if I'm right on that. A major. And then we'll make it a major scale. I'm going to turn it to something ridiculous to make sure I'm in the right key here. Maybe some G. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you. Oh. Actually, for the sake of this being a template for you guys, what I'm going to do is go back to using a chromatic scale. That'll be totally fine. And then what we'll do is just try to dial in the response time so that I can't really hear what it's doing all that much. In our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. And then we'll bring that to our other vocals. Breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. Yeah, that'll be great. And then we'll do a little bit of EQ here to the vocal, and we will do this in solo. Breath in our lungs, so we pour out. Get rid of some of this upper nasal stuff I'm hearing. Breath in our lungs. Even tighter key than that.
in our lungs.
There it is.
So we pour out our praise to you. Oh,
Something down here is bothering me too.
bread in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your bread in our lungs.
There we go.
So we pour out
Give it a little top end.
bread in our lungs. So we pour out
Feels really nice. And again, we'll do something similar to the bass. We'll do 2 compressors, one grabbing some transient.
bread in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your bread in our lungs.
See if I can get one that's a little bit faster than that.
Bread in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. We pour
That's perfect. And then I would like one more compressor on the opto setting.
bread
More compression.
in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your bread in our lungs. So we pour
See if that brought up the room too much.
bread in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. We pour out
No, that feels awesome. And then on live vocals, a multi-band compressor is, I mean, the best thing ever. And really, we'll spread the cues out about like this and just kind of compress it till it feels nice.
in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your bread in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you, holy bread in our lungs.
That feels really, really nice for a vocal that we mixed pretty quickly here. What I'll do now is bring in these background vocals. Let's see what they're doing. So he looks like he's not coming in near the end here. Let's see what he's doing.
Our lungs. So we pour out.
Yeah, so I will copy over this because they were on the same mic, right? It's live. I'll bring this up higher to about 200.
Pour out our praise. Pour out our praise. It's your bread in our lungs.
Just be a little bit more dramatic with what's going on. We'll copy over our compressors, see what those are doing.
Pour out our praise. Pour out our praise. It's your bread
Yeah, let's hold him in check really nice.
in our lungs.
Same thing for him.
So we pour out our praise to you, only it's your bread in our lungs. So
He is a lot closer to the PA. I can hear it, so I'm going to pull this up even higher.
pour out our praise, pour out our praise, it's your bread in our lungs. So we pour out.
Yeah, and normally, obviously, in a studio setting, you're not copying over a lot of settings, but in this setting, they're on the same mic, same room. I'm changing the EQ a little bit for their voice, but ultimately, them having the same settings and a style of mix like this actually is a helpful place to start. And now, I'm going to do my favorite thing, which is take this thing out of monos. Here it is in mono.
Pour out our praise, we pour out our praise, it's your bread.
Here it is in how it's supposed to be heard.
Pour out our praise, we pour out our praise, it's your bread in our lungs.
And to do that, let's add some effects to these vocals. Here's a slap delay.
Bread in our lungs. So we pour out our praise, we pour out our praise, it's your bread
Just gets it really wide. Here's some reverb.
in our lungs. So we pour out our praise, we
And now some delay.
bread in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your bread in our lungs.
I think this lead vocal could still be out front a little bit more, so I'm going to use the multipressor plugin to output the gain.
Bread in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your bread.
All right, that's great. So a couple of things we can do here just to put some final touches on it. One is both of these electrics are recorded in stereo, which seems like a really cool idea, except in my opinion, it makes them lose some of the width that could be there normally. So what I like to do in this situation, Logic's pan knob is kind of weird between balance and all kinds of things, but we'll use it anyways, is just pan this guitar out to about 35, this guitar out to about 35. Let's see what this helps.
In our lungs, so we pour out.
And then I really like to create an electric group. Let's hear what these sound like together. I think that's too wide actually, so we can bring those in a bit.
In our lungs, so we pour out.
Yep, and then I really like to do this trick. We'll do a compressor, we'll do a dual mono compressor. And where you click this button, you can go to mid side, and then you go to the mid. So we're just going to compress the mid of the stereo signal, and what it'll do is it'll duck the center and keep the sides out really wide and make it sound really wide. So that's really subtle.
In our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise.
Yep, and we're going to do that exact same thing. So I'm going to take this compressor. I'm actually going to copy it on the keys. Listen to what it does in the keys. Again, it's just compressing the mids. It means when we turn it up, we get a lot in the sides. I'm going to do the same thing to these tracks. I'm going to do it a lot in the tracks, actually. The sides just got really loud, so now we can turn it up and not lose any clarity.
In our lungs, so we pour out our praise.
And then for tracks, what I like to do is take an EQ, get rid of low end. And then I like to start giving it, because normally in tracks you've got pads, in this case an organ and just shimmery stuff. I like to start increasing the top end until I can hear it poke out.
In our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs.
So in this case, there's not a lot of top there to push from. So let's try some upper mid, see what we can do.
In our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs.
That seems to be where it's poking out, about that area there. We can turn it up some too.
Lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath.
And now we're getting a lot further down the road, less EQ. Similarly, this vocal reverb is driving me crazy. Take some low end out of it.
In our lungs,
top end too.
so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs.
Copy that over to the delay and the slap.
Pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise.
I think we can press the master bus just a little bit harder.
In our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise.
All right. So if this were a studio mix, I would go in, I would do some automation, I would edit a few things. If this were a broadcast mix, I'd be really happy with how it sounds. Obviously, you could tweak it as necessary, but I hope this video was helpful for you. And again, this template is available for download, and I would suggest putting your tracks in there, get them around a negative 15 mark, and just, see how they go from there. All the routing's done. You should be able to drag everything in, and I would do a save as so you can edit stuff if you want, but I hope it's a great start for you. Thanks.